Let me first ask what you expect to hear from Mike Pence in what is really his inaugural, at least, appearance before the public as the Vice President.
I'm sure he will reassure us and America's European allies that the United States is committed to the alliance. The President made that clear to the British Prime Minister Theresa May when she was the first visitor a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sure we'll get further reassurance that America, as it's always done, will continue to lead our alliance.
Are you concerned about the reports that have surfaced recently concerning Donald Trump's team and their communications with the Russians, who typically are more foe than friend of NATO?
We have to engage with Russia. We expect the United States to engage with Russia. It's important to explain to Russia what our deployments are in NATO. It's a defensive alliance. It's important to work to de-escalate any tensions with Russia. It's also important to talk to Russia about areas of the world where Russia has great influence. But what we say is, yes, engage with Russia, but beware. Beware of Russian intentions, Russian aggression, and increasing Russian bad behavior, not least in the democratic processes of our countries.
But do you think that the White House has lost some credibility, or do you feel that you can work together with this White House in a very trusting way?
I've spent the last 2 days working with Secretary Jim Mattis, the new Defence Secretary, in Brussels at the heart of NATO. He's a former NATO commander. I'm in no doubt of America's commitment to the military alliance, and I'm also in no doubt about America's commitment to the war against terror in the Middle East. If anything, the United States are looking to accelerate that battle in Iraq and in Syria.
Have you gotten any details from General Mattis about their plans to fight ISIS, or your plans to fight ISIS with them together?
Yes, the Counter-Daesh Coalition ISIS meeting was held yesterday with the 30 countries most involved, and he has reassured us that the United States wants to see the momentum of the campaign accelerated. Half of Mosul has already been liberated. The operation to free West Mosul is now beginning, and there are operations now to isolate Raqqa over in Syria so we can deal with this extremism at the heart of the caliphate in Iraq and in Syria.
Let me turn, Mr. Minister, to Brexit negotiations. Are you aware of any negotiations regarding the defense relationship or the intelligence sharing plans for the UK and the EU after Brexit?
No, we've made it clear that we expect intelligence sharing and defense and security cooperation, particularly against terrorism, to continue after we leave the European Union. But we remain members of NATO. We remain leading members of NATO. We are deploying troops this year in Estonia. We are deploying troops in Poland. We are sending RAF aircraft down to Romania. Europe, although we've left the Union, remains our continent, and we're going to go on helping to defend it.
When you speak with other European ministers here, do they ask you to assure them of your cooperation if negotiations, for example, were to get tense?
Well, they're sad that we're leaving. They want to continue the cooperation between our military and the European militaries. They also want, because we have the biggest defence budget in Europe, the biggest navy in Europe, very professional armed forces, they want us to work with European forces on some of these challenges that face us, whether it's terrorism or uncontrolled migration, and they want that cooperation to continue, and it will continue after Brexit.
Will you be able to continue to voice, to have your voice heard when it comes to things like migration? Because terrorism on the European continent has become a serious issue, and some asylum seekers have been involved in attacks.
We're working in the various task forces that are tackling immigration, in the Aegean, a NATO force, but also in the central Mediterranean. We're part of the European Union force. And we'll have the opportunity, after we leave, to decide whether to continue that work. It's free to other countries to join in some of these European missions where it's in the British interest to do so.